Right, we are of course at the Hotel and Hospitality Show in Sandton Convention Center, and of course next to me is Mr. Tebogo Madileng, Managing Director at Snape, just to chat to us as one of the exhibitors here today. What is your vision here today? What is your mission? Why are you here?
So as Snape, our vision is pretty much to enhance the way companies and individuals source content, manage that content, and distribute it. Yeah. And as our mission as Snap, we aim to empower as many locals as possible, and also moving over to the rest of Africa and internationally to pretty much revolutionize the way or innovate the way they source content, manage it, and distribute it.
Great stuff. And of course, your branding really looks nice, I must say. I mean, I was speaking to one of your colleagues right here, but break down Snap for us, right? What market do you serve? What do you do exactly?
So that's quite a broad question. So in terms of what we do, I'm going to break it down into three things. So we help companies or individuals source content, manage, and distribute. So now to break it down a little bit further, let's talk about sourcing content. So in terms of sourcing content, we have an app, two apps, a client app for clients to request videography services, the same way you would probably request an on-demand service, right? Where you can put in a location, type of service that you need, and book a photographer or videographer. Then we have the agent app, which then receives the booking, and from there the agent will come service you and give you that content. Now, in terms of you managing that content for yourself, we have a gallery management solution where you can create multiple galleries of the content that you have shot throughout the year, throughout your entire lifetime, and actually display them in a form of websites. Now, how we use this to help our enterprise clients is that we help them manage this content, because sometimes hotels have many different locations or many different branches, right? We help them manage that location. We help them manage that content in all these different locations and help them distribute it to the clients and to the head office. So this can be either to help them keep up to date in terms of how the hotel looks, in terms of maintenance, and so forth. So it's quite a broad of services that we offer, but all in all, it's sourcing of content, managing of content, and distributing of content.
Yeah. And I mean, you spoke a mouthful, right? In terms of exchanging values, right? I mean, there's two partners that are involved there. Obviously, you guys as being the main drivers of this thing, but there's a client, and obviously there's a service provider, right? Take me through the relationship. How does it work? Who gets paid when and who gets paid what? How the compensation side of things?
All right. So first of all, it all starts with the videographer or photographer. So they are pretty much the key element in our entire business. So with this, we partner with media schools, we advertise to freelancers to download our app and register. Once they have registered, they then tell us, are they a videographer or photographer? They input their hourly rate and tell us what they specialize in: weddings, wildlife, parties, graduations, any kind of photography or videography service. Now, what the client app then does, if they are within a 45-kilometer radius to the client, when the client is requesting a service, let's say they're requesting a photographer for a wedding, right? The service provider would then become visible, and the client will be able to see their portfolio or profile, their hourly rate, their experience level, and their rating. And if the client is happy, then they book them, and then we hold the money. So the client pays 100% of the fee, whether it's 5,000 rand, 10,000 rand. They have to pay the 100% of the fee up front. Then we hold that money in an escrow account, and then until the service provider or the photographer or videographer services that client, and that client says they're happy, then we release all that money to the videographer or photographer. The reason we collect 100% is because the freelancing industry is kind of tricky. Sometimes you'll get a customer for maybe that's going to pay you 5,000 or 10,000. Automatically, as a freelancer, you start thinking, my rent is paid, my car is paid, I have food on the table. But now if a client takes 3 months to pay you or 4 months to pay you, it disorientates your entire budgeting. So, but if you know that you're paid 100% upfront, and after you finish the job, you want to get that 10,000 rand, that 5,000 rand, it makes your life a lot easier as a service provider. And also, because of that payment protection thing that we have, it makes it easier for customers to then book with the knowledge of saying that my money is protected. If this guy doesn't pitch, I'll get a refund. If this guy gives me a job that is not so good, we'll sit down and negotiate. Okay, fine, the job has been done, although you're not entirely happy, but some has to go to the service provider and some you have to get a refund. So we have to figure out ways of how to make the client happy, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that really bring in the money, apart from the service provider just being there. So we try and mitigate that risk, but at the end of the day, that's pretty much how it works. Photographer registers, client books, we hold the money until the client is happy.
Right. It seems like it's a fair trade and a fair deal on both sides of the partners, right? I mean, the client, if the client is happy, then the money gets transferred to the service provider. But you know what? Talk to me about your future plans. Today you are here. Obviously, you are exhibiting and you're showcasing South Africa. What do you guys have? Right, and this is a hotel and hospitality show. Where do you guys fit in, and what is your plan going forward?
Well, where we fit in it's actually it's quite broad, but I'm also going to break it down into sourcing of content, managing and distributing. Right. So in terms of sourcing content for hotels, we help them connect with service providers that are around the hotel. So instead of having one provider that has to fly from Cape Town to Durban to Limpopo to the Vaal anyway, we encourage hotels to empower the service providers within that area, which then promotes localization, supplier diversity, empowerment, economic empowerment, and pretty much access to market for anybody that has just joined the photography or videography industry. So that's the first part. The second part is, once that content is given to the hotel, we help the hotel manage that content from a national point of view to a global point of view, because it's a system. We don't have to travel for you to use that system. As long as you have login details, you can just use that system. Okay. And then the distribution of content within the hotel, they then can create galleries of maybe Hotel 1 and Hotel 2, show that to customers, and they can also have a central place where the entire hotel group can then see the content in terms of what's happening at Hotel A, what's happening at Hotel B. And the last element is that hotels get a lot of tourists, right? So we also encourage our hotel clients, so that when a tourist enters the hotel, they tell the tourist about our app, so that they can request a local provider. Furthermore, for the services, expanding that thing to improve the lifestyle in the different communities, to know that people in the communities are getting work because of people that are coming to the hotel.
Lovely. Mr. Tebogo Madileng, who is, of course, the managing director at Snape. We are in Sandton Convention Center, the hotel and hospitality show taking place today up until, of course, Saturday, the 20th of May. Thank you so much for Just Radio. I am Elvis Mulifi Molf. Thank you, sir.